Did you know that 68% of M365 Copilot implementations fail to achieve their objectives? Do you know why? It is because organizations underestimated the importance of effective change management, which led to resistance and low adoption of M365 Copilot. My name is Obi Iradion, and in this video, I will show you the exact best change management framework that I have successfully used at organizations like Apple, HSBC, Cisco, Microsoft, and Yale University, so that you can drive adoption and success for M365 Copilot rollout. So here are the three key outcomes I would like you to take away from this video. One, I would like to equip you with the latest change management methodology for M365 Copilot implementation. Two, provide you and empower you with actionable insights and best practices that increase my own success in delivering change management for M365 Copilot implementation. And three, to prepare you with how-to knowledge for implementing all of these different things I will be showing you today as part of your day-to-day job activities. So let's jump right into it. Here is the portfolio of best change management deliverables you will want to deliver for rolling out M365 Copilot within an organization. I will go into details shortly, but at a high level, it involves conducting change assessments, delivering communications, developing and implementing change strategies and plans, engaging with leaders, coaching and training impacted users, and tracking change successes. To increase your success, you will want to apply this four-phase change management approach, which is based on best change practices for rolling out M365 Copilot. You want to start by assessing readiness for the M365 Copilot rollout, and then move to the design and development phase where you build the change strategy, plans, and assets for delivering change management for the Copilot for M365. And then the third phase is where we implement the change deliverables and also track adoption. And the final phase is where we sustain and reinforce the new behaviors by embedding new behaviors into day-to-day operations. Each phase is time-bound and scalable, meaning you can run this model for a small pilot, or you can expand it enterprise-wide with the same structured cadence. Most of our time today is going to be spent on each of these different phases as I walk you through the key change management deliverables that should be delivered as part of each phase. Let us start with phase one. For phase one, there are 6 key deliverables that you want to keep in mind. Before jumping into delivering training or communications, we need to understand how ready the organization is for the M365 Copilot rollout. And so a readiness assessment looks at culture, capacity, leadership, and alignment, which allows you to spot risk before they slow down adoption. You want to think about your change readiness assessments as your early diagnostic. It basically tells you where to focus your change efforts. Let us now do a double click into each one of these deliverables, starting with the first one, assessing the current state and culture. So for 1.1, which is assess the current state and culture, you want to start with assessing your organization's baseline. What is the current mindset towards change? How are decisions made? who has influence. If the culture is resisting accountability or innovation, that is going to impact adoption for your M365 Copilot. You also want to assess change fatigue and change saturation. For example, are people already overwhelmed by other initiatives? It is important to take this into consideration because if your organization of impacted users are already change fatigue, then your change management strategies and plans need to take that into consideration. To do your current state and cultural assessment, you want to talk to key individuals within the impacted groups. You will also want to assess the change impact. So you are basically clearly defining what is changing from a process perspective, systems perspective, roles, and also workflows. Just because you are implementing M365 Copilot does not mean you don't need to understand the ecosystem that will be impacted. So you want to use a change impact assessment template or matrix like the one on my screen to map out who's impacted, by how much are they impacted, and when. This helps you prioritize where to apply the most support. I also recommend that you have a view like this one on my screen for you to share with executive sponsors, which basically summarizes the M365 Copilot implementation impact by personas. The third assessment to conduct as part of the assess phase is to identify risk and barriers that may derail the M365 Copilot implementation. Basically, you want to capture the biggest blockers early. For example, lack of leadership buy-in, low awareness, resource constraints, or competing projects. Document this using a template that is similar to the one on my screen so that you can proactively mitigate these challenges and risk and resistance rather than discover these mid-implementation. You also want to map your stakeholders and champions. So this involves identifying the influencers who can make or break your M365 rollout. As you can see on my screen on this template, you want to group them by their level of interest and ability to influence and impact or derail this implementation. People that champion or that are very excited and have a high level of interest, those are your champions. Why people who are resisting the change basically signal where more engagement is really needed. Then number 5, you want to assess enablement needs. So basically this involves looking at what people need to successfully adopt M365 Copilot. And most importantly, you are looking at their preferences for training, preferences for communication, and also engagement. Different departments and groups might have different preferences. And so make sure that you are interviewing select individuals within these impacted groups to gather all of this information. And then number 6 involves your readiness surveys and also interviews. You want to validate all of the different findings that you are getting from the 5 assessments that we just went over. You want to validate your findings with data. And so send out short surveys or do focus groups interviews as well as stakeholder interviews. This not only confirms readiness levels, but also builds awareness and buy-in across groups. At the end of this video, I will show you how to get the link to a standardized best practice survey that you can start sending out right away today. So the 6 key deliverables that are part of the readiness assessment are not a one-time exercise. Throughout the engagement, you will want to continue to measure adoption. However, the insights that you gather as part of your readiness assessment will become the foundation for your change strategy and engagement plans. So now that we have completed our readiness assessments in phase one, it is time to move into phase two, which is the design and develop aspect of your change management program for the M365 Copilot rollout. In this phase, you will want to focus on designing your change strategies and developing the key deliverables that will guide your rollout. So things like communication plans, training materials, and stakeholder engagement tools. Basically, this is where all your planning starts to take shape. Once readiness is assessed, the next step is to build targeted change strategies that address the key drivers of adoption. These 8 strategies on my screen cover all angles from communication, training, and leadership engagement to resistance management and post go live sustainment. The goal is to tailor each strategy to your organization's unique culture and impact profile rather than using a one size fits all approach. Together, these 8 create a cohesive roadmap for successful M365 Copilot adoption. After defining your strategies, the next step is to translate them into actionable change management plans. Each of these plans, from communication and training to resistance management and adoption tracking, operationalizes a specific part of your overall M365 implementation strategy. Together, they ensure that the M365 Copilot implementation is not just planned, but executed in a structured, measurable way. The goal is consistency, accountability, and sustained adoption across the organization. For your organization, these plans will form the backbone of the change management adoption enablement for the M365 Copilot implementation. You will also want to develop and socialize a change roadmap similar to what I am sharing on my screen. This roadmap outlines how to sequence change activities from assessment through go live and normalization. It ensures that communication, training, and engagement happen at the right time, not all at once. The key is flexibility. Adapt this roadmap to your organization's pace and project timeline while keeping momentum steady. Here are the core communication assets you will want to develop to drive awareness and engagement during your M365 Copilot rollout. You will want to use invites for kickoff sessions, onboarding, and training reminders, emails for updates, countdowns, and go live announcements, and newsletters to maintain momentum and share success stories. Adding tips and tricks content like short videos or quick use guides helps users see real value in M365 Copilot faster. The key is consistency. Communicate early, often, and in multiple formats so that messages land across all audiences. Another common deliverable you should deliver involves a change enablement site and learning resources website. Your enablement site will be the one-stop hub for everything users need. So we are talking about videos, guides, and quick reference materials. By centralizing training materials and videos in SharePoint, you make learning easy, consistent, and accessible, helping users quickly build confidence and sustain adoption after go live. You will also want to create onboarding and engagement materials like kickoff decks, toolkits, and communication hubs to equip your change champions to help them lead, communicate, and drive adoption of M365 Copilot across the organization. The seventh key deliverable to develop as part of the design and develop phase is creating leadership engagement and support materials to help leaders understand what is changing, as well as help them actively champion the Copilot rollout. So you want to develop resources like leadership engagement guides, playbooks, and a day in the life use cases so that leaders can model new behaviors, communicate effectively, and connect the change to business priorities. Use a leader action roadmap to help them clarify and understand what is expected before, during, and after go live. So here is a recap of phase two before we go on to phase three. During phase two, we developed comprehensive change management plans that translate strategy into action, covering communication, training, stakeholder engagement, resistance management, adoption tracking, and more. These change management plans for M365 Copilot rollout ensure alignment, accountability, and consistency as we prepare the organization for a successful M365 Copilot rollout. So before we go on, if you are into change management, do give this video a like or subscribe to our growing community of people who love organizational change management just as much as you do. Now that we have built the foundation through readiness assessments and detailed change plans development, it is now time to move into phase three, which is the implement and manage adoption for M365 Copilot. In this phase, you will want to focus on execution, basically driving engagement, monitoring adoption, managing resistance, and reinforcing new behaviors. Let us walk through the key deliverable you will want to or you will need to successfully manage adoption during this stage. During this phase, you will want to roll out your detailed communication plan, covering all key communication types like awareness messages, readiness updates, countdowns, go live announcements, and post launch reinforcement messages. The goal is to make sure every audience gets the right information at the right time through the right channels to build excitement, readiness, and sustained adoption of M365 Copilot. It is also during this stage that you launch and actively manage your change champion network for the M365 Copilot rollout. You want to start by identifying and selecting the right champions, basically people who are influential, positive, and trusted within their teams. Then onboard them with clear definition of their roles and responsibilities via a kickoff session. You also want to provide them with communication materials that they can cascade to members of their organization. You also want to provide them with the champion toolkit that you developed during the develop phase. Finally, you want to ensure that you keep your champions engaged through enablement activities like hands-on training, toolkits, and ongoing check-ins via Teams, Slack, or Zoom. In this phase, you will be delivering hands-on training and enablement sessions to help users build confidence and actually start using M365 Copilot. You can do this via virtual or in-person sessions, depending on your audience and location. You will also want to set up office hours or support calls where users can hop on to ask questions and get help in real time. And if you are dealing with larger groups, then you want to consider train the trainer sessions or workshops and webinars to scale adoption. And don't forget to provide resources, videos, and quick guides that users can access anytime. These all help reinforce learning and support and also support ongoing adoption. When I deliver change management for clients, I always use a white glove leadership and sponsor enablement approach. This means that you are not just sending leaders a briefing deck, you are actually engaging them through one on one or small group sessions that help them truly understand the change. It helps them communicate the vision and model adoption. You will want to use a day in the life storytelling to make it real for them. You want to show leaders like Rob here, who we are going to be using for our explanation today, exactly how M365 Copilot fits into their workflows and daily routines. And here is how you can go about doing it. Schedule a 30-minute immersion session per leader group that is focused on 2 or 3 key workflows that they use the most. You also want to provide them with cheat sheets for common actions like approving, delegating, filtering, or exporting. Just kind of simple things as to how to use the system. Most importantly, you want to coach leaders to use Copilot during their all hands meetings and team huddles or business reviews. For example, you can show them how to pull up a live dashboard instead of relying on static slides. As we talked about earlier, leaders play a critical role in driving change adoption. During M365 Copilot implementation, your middle and senior level leaders become the bridge between the project team and impacted users. They act as communicators, sharing the vision and explaining why the change matters. They are advocates, showing visible support through their actions, and they act as liaisons, helping translate strategy into what it means for day-to-day work activities in using Copilot. They also serve as coaches, guiding their teams through the learning curve, addressing concerns, and they also help manage resistance, which is why it is important to coach and help these leaders connect the dots on how the M365 Copilot will help them personally. When you are onboarding or coaching leaders, you want to use this day in the life flow to make it real. Walk them through how the new tool, the M365 Copilot, will support their daily routines from morning activities all the way to evening activities. This approach helps leaders see immediate value and positions them to confidently champion adoption across their teams. And here is a quick tip. You want to ensure that you use a build slide approach. Don't show the entire day in the life all at once. Leaders don't need to see everything upfront. Instead, start with 8 a.m. So, for example, look at my screen. I am going to click once and just assume that I am having a conversation with a leader. I would say, around 8 a.m., we understand here are some activities that you do, and here is how Copilot can help you. And then I click again, and then I go over, here's what you normally do as a leader around 9:30, and here is how Copilot can help. And then I click once more, and I talk about activities for 11 a.m. And 1 p.m., 3 p.m., and 5 p.m. This keeps the conversation focused and helps you guide the leader step by step through how the uh, uh, solution fits into their workflow. Next, let us talk about managing resistance, which is something you want to play, you want to spend some time doing both proactively and reactively. During adoption, you will want to have a mix of reactions, or you will always have a mix of reactions. Some people will be receptive, some will not, and a few will quietly disengage. You all know what I'm talking about. So, your job is to identify resistance early on through stakeholder analysis and conversations, and then tailor your interventions. You want to use a template like this resistance tracker on my screen to capture who is struggling, what their concerns are, and what actions need to be taken to move them from resisting to accepting the change. The goal is to keep adoption momentum going and make sure no stakeholder gets left behind. As we move into measuring adoption and success for the M365 Copilot rollout, this is where you start turning insights into actions. You will want to track key adoption metrics like user adoption, usage trends, engagement levels, and feedback sentiment. These metrics help you understand not who is using the tool, but how effectively it's being used across teams. And there is a Copilot dashboard that you can let whoever is the admin for your organization's Copilot licenses to give you access to, that allows you to see which groups are using Copilot for M365, which apps are they using Copilot the most for? So, for example, we see people using Copilot for PowerPoint, a lot of people using Copilot for Outlook. Lesser people are using Copilot for Excel, right? So you will basically see all of this information when you look at your Copilot dashboard. So before we move on to phase 4, let us do a quick recap of phase 3, which is the implement and manage adoption phase. In this phase, the focus is really all about execution and engagement. You rolled out your communication plan to drive awareness and readiness. You launched and managed your change champion network to keep momentum strong on the ground. You also delivered hands-on training and enablement sessions to build confidence and capability across user groups. You provided white glove leadership support, helping leaders model adoption and reinforce the change. At the same time, you proactively managed resistance, tracking and addressing resistance early. And finally, you measured adoption and success metrics using data and feedback to show progress and sustain engagement long after go live. Now that we have successfully implemented and driven adoption, it is time to move into phase 4, which is the sustain and reinforce phase for your M365 Copilot implementation. This is where you focus on maintaining momentum and making the change stick long term. You will continue to reinforce new behaviors for using M365 Copilot. You will want to celebrate quick wins, track adoption trends, and address any dips in engagement. So think of this phase as moving from launch mode to continuous improvement mode, keeping the organization aligned, supported, and continually realizing value from the implemented M365 Copilot. To reinforce the changes, you will want to focus on sustaining engagement and embedding new behaviors long after go live. Start by maintaining your change champion network and feedback loops. Keep your champions and key stakeholders active so you can quickly identify what is going right and what needs attention. Next, continue office hours and user support to provide ongoing support to people and keep confidence levels high. Don't assume adoption means the job is done. People still need reinforcement. You will also want to measure adoption during the sustain phase, track usage, engagement, and sentiment trends to ensure adoption doesn't drop over time. You also want to capture and integrate lessons learned so future rollouts benefit from this experience. You will also want to recognize adoption by celebrating success stories, highlighting top users, providing recognitions to people. And when I say you, it's not really you. You could have leaders provide recognitions to people within the organization, basically showing the impact the change is having are all part of your recognition activities. Finally, embed the change into business as usual operations. Update policies, workflows, and performance measures so the new way of working becomes the standard, not the exception. Next, let us go over our methodology. So, to bring it all together, what we have just covered is a proven end to end change management framework that you can use not just for M365 implementation, but for any software or process or business transformation. It is designed to take you from readiness assessment, where you understand your organization's culture, capacity, and risk, through design and development, where you build your strategies, plans, and enablement materials. And then you move into implementation. Implementation, where you execute, train, and drive adoption through strong engagement and proactive resistance management. And finally, you reinforce and scale, ensuring the change sticks through measurement, recognition, and continuous improvement. Depending on the scope, the severity of impact, and readiness, this full journey typically spans 3 to 12 months and sometimes more. But the impact will last longer because when you follow this 4 phase framework, you are not just rolling out software, you are changing how people do their job and how people use AI and M365 Copilot. And right here is another view of how you can implement this 4 phase approach. And I will include the link under this video so you can have access to this slide as well as have access to this 4 phase framework, this timeline view. And if you need help or need a top change management consultant to support you, don't hesitate to reach out to me. See the link below. And below this video, you can also find the link to the readiness assessment survey template for you to use to gather readiness data points. You will also find the link to the detailed step-by-step guide below this video is the link to help you ensure that you can increase your adoption and implementation of M365 Copilot within your organization. And don't forget to like this video, as that lets me know that you have received value from it. You can also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss great content like this one.